Just as a heads up for this video, I'm going to be talking about stuff that are some bigger spoilers for the story and world of Palia. If you don't want Palia's story spoiled for you, don't watch this video. And if you have played through Palia or you want the story spoiled for you, let me walk you through this mystery. The world of Palia is a very interesting one, where thousands of years ago an ancient civilization of humans were very advanced and had incredible technologies and large cities. But as something mysterious happened to the planet and their race, which caused all the humans to disappear until recently, the remains of the civilization of the ancient humans are left in ruins. You can explore many of these ruins during your time playing Palia, and you can see many more off in the distance as well. I expect that any new maps introduced to the game will feature some remains of human architecture as well. I am still playing through the story of Palia, and I am learning more and more about the world. And because of that, I haven't completed every single quest in the game, so some of these ruins I have not had the opportunity to explore just yet, as they are locked behind doors or aren't actively playing a part in the game yet. And alongside that, the game is still early on in development, so some of these locations might play an important part in the future of Palia, but is not currently relevant to what we have in the game yet. However, I discovered one location that really piqued my curiosity. In the second zone of the game, Bahari Bay, there are a lot more of the ruins of ancient humanity compared to the first zone of Kilima Village. Additionally, there are a few different locations that are mines. Most people will recognize the Pavel mines where Hodari works, but there is another mine located just southeast of the Pavel mines near Beachcomber Cove. Exploring this mine is decently cool. There are a couple of geysers that launch you out of the mine, there's some pallium in here, and you can drop down further into the mine, where you land into an open chamber that has some fallen planks and a crashed mining cart. But if you look over to one of the sides of the room, there's actually a hidden area here where some foliage is covering a hole in the wall that you can jump through to enter a special area. This is another cool part of the cave that I believe has a hidden chest in it and also has a floor in the ancient human style as well as a broken statue off in one corner. This is just a cool secret area in this mine. However, there's another secret area even further down, where you can find another hole past this ancient statue here that you can drop down into and find a very cool ancient chamber. It is a little broken and damaged, but it is still standing. You have a blend of the caverns coming into ancient human architecture, but the most notable thing about this room is the structure on the far end of it, where there's a pedestal that has a strange looking pyramid on it pointing up. On the roof is an outcropping with another strange looking pyramid pointing down, and in between the two is a mysterious floating golden sphere. And behind these two pyramids and the sphere is an interesting object that reminds me of a portal frame. Where this place might play a part in the story I have not yet explored, but I haven't heard anyone talk about this place at all, which makes me think that this is either content for the future, is part of some super difficult secret, or is just decoration in the world. No matter what role this location plays in the current or the future story, I want to talk about this mysterious golden sphere that is floating between the two pyramids. I just find this super interesting. I mean, first of all, it's floating there, which would lead me to believe that this location is being powered somehow, where we have interacted with ancient humanity's energy sources in the story, and we also learn a lot about what it was like. But it would lead me to believe that this location is still being powered somehow, or that the sphere itself is incredibly magical in nature. It being between the two strange looking pyramids is also interesting because presumably it plays a part into the contraption here. Where what is this contraption? Like I said earlier, it reminds me of a portal. Like you would activate a portal that appears in the frame and then you go through it. It also kind of reminds me of some sort of communication device. Or maybe a holographic visage of someone appears in the frame as you interact with the contraption, and then you can talk to them. I do really hope we get to learn more about this place in the future because it is just super interesting. But something that really piques my interest is how this isn't the only example of this golden sphere being used in the game. Where in Kilima Village, you can find the main town that is being ran by Kinley and Eshe. These two, and their daughter, are of a higher social class compared to everyone else in the village, where they come from a general place of wealth and power. They present themselves as such, and they live in a relatively large mansion on a hill overlooking the village. In front of the mansion, as well as behind the mansion in Kinley's flower garden, you can find two different fountains, and floating at the top of the fountain are golden floating spheres, very similar to the ones we found in the ruins earlier. Which I discovered the ruins and thought a lot about the golden sphere there, and then I returned to this mansion here and realized that there are more spheres here, which I found super interesting. You have these ancient human ruins with a mysterious contraption and a floating golden sphere, then you have this mansion and another zone with two golden spheres here, where the big difference between the two spots are that the ones in the mansions are moving, which makes me wonder if the contraption in the ruins is in sleep mode where the sphere is just floating there, and then we can eventually activate it and it will start bouncing around like this one. And another huge difference is how these two are a part of a fountain, where we know that ancient human civilization put a large emphasis on the four elements of fire, earth, air, and water, and we interact with water a lot during the start of the game here. So these golden spheres being connected to water is super interesting because of the potential importance of these spheres. And this all gave me an idea. For anyone who has done the first part of the Phoenix Shrine questline, there's a puzzle where you have to fill a basin with water using your watering can. I thought maybe there is something similar going on here, where I returned to the ruins underneath the mine, took out my water bucket, and tried to water different parts of it. Sadly, nothing happened. I also tried to mine it and shoot it with an arrow, but nothing happened. But another interesting story going on here is why Kinley and Eshe have these two golden spheres in their mansion. Well, I mentioned earlier that they are of a high social class, meaning they have a lot of money and power. Well, it is very likely that they got these ancient human relics because of their wealth and power, and mostly just use it to decorate their house, which I think could be super funny in the future. We don't know what these spheres are. What if they are bombs or something, where these rich people are messing with ancient technology that they have next to no understanding of, and we may see some serious implications of that tampering. But another part of this is the presence of the Academy and the Order in the world of Palia, where we are just beginning to learn more about these two organizations, but the Order especially seems to like to gatekeep knowledge from the rest of the world, where they have strictly outlawed the use of magic with interacting with flow, and we know they are strict about human relics and ruins and stuff in general. Yet we see these three Majiri living in this mansion having the orbs. Which part of me wonders if it means that the Order knows what these spheres are and they are completely harmless, or part of me thinks they have no idea what these spheres are and Kinley and Eshe just came across them. And another part of me wonders if Kinley and Eshe have some sort of influence with the Order, where I haven't seen them have any connection with them yet, which doesn't mean it's not revealed in a future quest because I still have so much more content to go through. But I think overall, these ruins are super interesting with the entire contraption built here. And then you can find two more of these golden spheres in Kinley's mansion, which is also super interesting. And I really hope we get to learn more about this place or these spheres in the future, but this isn't the end of the speculation, because there are more interesting ideas connected to both of these places that I want to share. Where we know a decent amount of the Galdur, who are the super cool robot or golem-like creatures that ancient humans created to basically complete different tasks, and they survived over the years even though humanity disappeared. Where some, like Einar, have basically been fishing for thousands of years and living amongst the new civilizations that arose in the wake of humanity's disappearance. And others, like Hekla, were stuck in excess storage and were recently activated by the Majiri. But if you look at both Hekla and Einar, both of their heads look very, very similar to the golden spheres, which leads me to believe that potentially the three golden spheres we found earlier are actually Galdur heads, or for whatever reason, the ruins we found has a floating Galdur head located there, and then Kinley and Eshe came across two other heads and now use them as decoration without realizing, or maybe because of the fact they realize that they are heads. Or first things first, that would kind of be messed up that people who potentially have a lot of wealth and power just keep old Galdur heads around as decoration. But second, that makes me go back to the ruins in Bahari and think about them even more, where I'm wondering, what if this place is housing a deactivated Galdur, where maybe we will activate this location at some point and then a new character will appear. Or maybe this place is a Galdur, but it's not attached to a body that can walk around and we will eventually come here, activate it, and talk to it at some point in the future. And my personal guess is that this is likely to be the case, where this is going to be a location we return to in the future, figure out how to activate it, and then we will be able to communicate with the Galdur here. Whether or not this is going to be somebody who is a good character or a bad character, and how exactly they will play into the story, I have no idea. And I think we will probably see more of these golden spheres around the world as well. But I think as far as the two at the mansion and Kilima goes, I doubt we will see much come from them, or I feel like they might just be reused assets as a decorative element to the house. But I could be wrong. Maybe we will be able to activate these two heads at some point in the future and talk to them as well. One last thing I want to talk about is the center of Kilima village. Most people have probably noticed this, but there's what looks like part of a giant golden sphere that is being held up by some supports. This is a little bit of a garden area with some different flowers and other plants, but what some people may not know is that this actually used to be a fountain, where you learn this during the Gina Friendship questline, and I think this is interesting because this giant cracked golden sphere used to be a fountain, which is a similar idea to the two golden spheres in the mansion fountains, where this golden sphere also has a connection to water. Now a huge difference between this sphere and the other ones, other than this one is cracked and not floating, is that it is ginormous. Where the other ones look similar to Galdur heads, if this was a Galdur head, that would have been one giant Galdur. But I don't think that is out of the realm of possibility. It is likely that this could have been the head of a Galdur, but also it is interesting that we know this used to be a fountain, which should lead me to believe that this structure was entirely always a fountain and they didn't repurpose an old Galdur head to make a fountain. But that could also be the case, we just don't know. There's also the possibility that this ruined sphere is nothing like the others we have talked about in this video. It is significantly bigger and it looks a bit different. I think I just have a lot of questions about these mysterious objects. Are they Galdur heads? Are they connected to water? Are they some piece of ancient technology? Why does Kinley and Eshe have two in their fountains? Why is there a random one in an ancient ruin underneath Bahari Bay? Hopefully, as the game progresses, we will have the opportunity to learn more about these. Thank you for watching this video and listening to all my speculation about this random part of Palia. I personally find this super intriguing, and I have been thinking about this a lot since I first discovered the ancient ruins underneath Bahari. These may ultimately not have any amount of importance whatsoever, or they may be pretty important for the story going forward. I'm excited to find out either way. Subscribe if you want to see more Palia content, and have a good one everyone.